So we're in the workshop today working on this beautiful old, I think it's a Honda VF1000R. It's a lovely tidy bike, nice clean bodywork. I've had the front fairing off as we've had some electrical gremlins. It's for a good customer of mine. He's had someone else had a quick look at it, couldn't get to the bottom of it, so asked if I'd have a look, and I said I'd help him out of a bit of sticky situation as he needs it fixing fairly quickly. So got the multimeter out, test light, power probe. Like, yeah, electrics isn't I definitely wouldn't say it's my forte. There's a chap, Superbike Surgery, on YouTube, like Jim. I mean, his electrical knowledge is massive. So if I was anywhere near as good as him, that's where I'd like to be on electrical stuff. But yeah, you don't get it that often, but I normally get to the bottom of it in the end, which we have with this. So yeah, it was just, you've turned the ignition on, no lights on the dash, brand new battery, and yeah, that was all I was told. Oh yeah, we've had a quick look at the starter solenoids and stuff, and didn't really get any more detail than that really. But I since figured out, so modern starter solenoids normally have a big 30 amp fuse in the top. I found out that these two screws, which were loose, so someone's obviously been in there, should have a fuse wire across, but I've had to kind of bodge this little thing up that I've obviously crimped some connectors on and stuff, and it's a good repair, because I wasn't getting any voltage to these big chunky red wires here, which go up and feed the fuse box. So I was getting live here, nothing anywhere else. This screw was live, this one wasn't, so I've made a little jumper, put a 30 amp fuse in there to protect the circuit, and then that lived up these wires. So trace that up to here where the ignition switch is, and I was getting voltage into the red wire, and then when turning the ignition on, I was getting voltage to the blue and orange. But in my continuity checks and stuff, I power probed the fuse box, main fuse, and then when I turned the ignition on, it would light all the dash up and it would turn over. So I did some checks, found out obviously this red and black is the main feed wire to the fuse box, but I was getting no voltage there. With the ignition off, it was only liven up the red wire. With ignition on, it would only live up the blue and orange. So I thought I'd power probe the black and red wire with my power probe, battery voltage, and guess what? The dash lit up. So I was like, well, that's a bit strange. I'll do some continuity checks from the fuse box to that connector block, and that was fine. Did some voltage checks on the wires, and yeah, I just wasn't getting anything down that one. So I thought, well, I think now I've traced it back to the ignition switch, but the bike's really tidy and it was working before it was put away, so the customer was a bit confused and didn't think it was going to be the ignition switch. But rather than chasing a load of other faults, because for an old bike, the loom and the connectors actually all looked all right, so I had to take the ignition switch off, which is a bit of a faff. Got to drop the yoke off, handlebars off and everything. You got this little brace that was stopping the ignition switch from coming out, and I took the ignition switch apart, and it fell to bits because it all kind of popped apart. But there was one terminal that was a little bit on the dirty side. Put some contact cleaner in there, bit of wet and dry. Did some continuity checks from the pins from the inside of the ignition switch to all the wires coming out to the loom, and all that was good. That was all good continuity. Put the switch back together and then checked again, and I was actually getting continuity on all three contacts. So the red, the blue and orange and the red and black. So I thought, hopefully that sussed it. Plugged it all back in. Bit of dielectric grease in the connectors, and there we go. She runs. The lights work, indicators work, all that sort of stuff. Got to look at the horn, is that's not working. But yeah, a bit of electrical diagnostics in, like I say, working through methodically of where your voltages should be and checking what I had. Like I say, we got it narrowed down to the ignition switch and, like I say, cleaned it up, got it fixed and back on the road. So yeah, thanks for watching. Look forward to the next one.